they make goes towards vacations.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What works for them because everybody's household is different. I mean, even today I was in a grocery store and I saw a man. He had a little girl, if she was like 2, and then a baby strapped to his chest, and he was doing all the grocery shopping.
Yeah, that's not me.
Clearly.
That's not me.
So that's what I'm saying. So what everybody, and that's what I said. I said, my husband, first of all, he doesn't know what it is to write a grocery list. And this man didn't have junk in the cart because you send you to the grocery store, you come home with a cart full of chips. So like we can't survive. We can't survive off chips.
I've tried this. So for anyone out there that's thinking that I didn't, I actually tried to put my 2 cents into that realm, and it didn't work.
About groceries,
right? I got a refund on my grocery list, and mainly because I went in there, I was hungry. And my shopping list was dictated on what my gut felt at the moment. I didn't have any discipline going in there,
and it was nothing to make a complete meal inside.
I don't cook, so clearly. I did not shop according to what could be made as a meal, and I just don't think in those terms. But I don't think I should be judged for it either. Okay. All right.
Well, moving on. that's what I'm trying to say. Like it. Everybody's relationship, whatever works for you in your household, and whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if the man is okay with her staying at home and taking care of everything in the house while he goes and works, okay, then that works for them. But if it's a house and if they have it set up where her money takes care of vacations and his money takes whatever, that's what works for them.
All right, well, let's take a little.
But they have to communicate that though, so
okay.
It's clear.
Okay, so let's take a little journey. And listen, I agree with you. Whatever works for your home should work for your home, right? If the two of you agree on it, cool. That all works. But there are cases where women don't feel that way, right? I mean, women just feel like I shouldn't have to, and the man is like, I disagree. It's like a hard stance.
That's where expectations.
Right? And because it wasn't clearly defined during the dating stage, now you find yourself in a world of trouble. But let's talk about me and you.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm all right providing. I feel like I'm okay doing it on my own. You don't feel that way, though.
I don't.
We disagree. Now, I'm okay with you feeling the way that you feel. But, and you put a great deal of pressure on yourself when you don't level up.
I agree.
And I don't think you should. I mean, I don't think you should. Honestly, I honestly don't think. I respect the fact that you do, and I think that's what allows us to progress forward, right? I respect the fact that, and we're gonna get into that, the disagreement, but respect during the next stay. I can see it. But nonetheless, I think that I respect the fact that you feel the way that you feel, and I'm okay with it. I even have no problem coaching you out of some of the mindsets you find yourself into when you don't feel like you're measuring up, and I have to point out to you in which ways you are measuring up. But you put a great deal of pressure on yourself to level up in a way that I'm like, you already are. Why are you doing this to yourself? Right? You don't have to make the numerical wages that I bring in every year. Like, you don't have to do that. And then I'll point out to you in which ways you do make up for the gap, right? But there was also a season where I didn't, as I was trying to become, I didn't make what you were making, right? And I had to figure out what kind of husband I could be and what kind of father I could be in that season of my life, which was that was a humility process. My whole glass was shut, you know what I mean, or shattered. It was tough, for sure. That's the reason why I understand and respect how you feel about it. But at the same time, I disagree with the pressure you put on yourself to level up, right? Because in my mind, I'm like, man, the man should be. In your mind, you're like, nah, it should be equal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't have to be, because it already is.
No, but I'm not saying it has to be equal amounts of money. I'm just saying I feel like we should both be contributing something.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying, yeah, I got to make just as much money as he does. Like, it's not a competition by any means. I just feel like we should both be contributing.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are also, as you have felt in the past, no matter what I do, it's still not enough.
What do you mean?
Right? Okay. You know, I remember early on in our relationship when I was working and you weren't. One of the reasons were because you were bedridden when you were pregnant, and you couldn't work. You couldn't get out of the bed.
I was bedridden.
Well, what do you call that?
Bed rest.
Whatever. Right? He was riding in the bed to me. Okay. And it was mainly because, you weren't putting on enough weight and, whatever the feminine issues were at that time. Right. All I knew was I had to go to work and you needed the breast. And then if we did it that way, the baby would survive. I was cool with that. Right. But you were not. You weren't okay with that.
Because I wasn't used to sitting still.
Okay.
And it's just like, I got to do something. I got to get up. I got to go somewhere. I got to do, like, just sitting there that's not who I am.
Right.
Even on my days, we're like, babe, why don't you lay down? We don't have no place to go. It's like, because I can't. Like, I'm not a person to sit still. It's not in me. Mm-hmm. It's not in my makeup. Yeah. You see my grandfather, ain't his makeup. Like, go.
Yeah.
So it's just like, to be forced to sit still when I am an able body was driving me crazy.
You weren't that able.
Well, I felt like
yeah,
I was pretty able.
Yeah, I don't know. Cameron wouldn't have survived if you felt as able as you were. But nonetheless, we figured it out. But what the point I'm trying to make here is there are situations where I disagree with what we did not define
in the beginning. Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if we had a great understanding of what we both expected, if we gotten into certain seasons like that, we wouldn't have went into the turbulence we went into, depression, anxiety, worrying, and then that caused even more, energy is transferable. Before in my situation, I was worried about you getting up out of the bed because you couldn't sit still. And you were worried about not sitting still. I need to be providing. I need to be doing this and doing that. And even after Cameron was born, it's like, man, you have no idea how much money you saving us from us not having to do daycare. But even in that instance, you was just like, man, I need to be working. And I'm like, you need to be chilling, okay? Because as however much money it takes for you to take care for a daycare to take care of an infant annually, we winning. And it was just like getting you to see it that way, something that you just couldn't do, right? Because of the makeup, the
expectations I placed on myself.
Exactly. And those, and the point I'm trying to make is sometimes because we didn't clearly define these expectations in the beginning, right? You can run with imperfect perspectives sometimes, and then end up being hard on yourself, which ends up that energy transfers over to your counterpart in a different way, which causes for a cycle of unforeseen journeys, which can test the commitment definition, if that makes any sense.
I see where you're trying to go with this.
Trying?
I see where you're going with this.
Oh, okay. All right. Right. And listen, okay, and just to advance forward, right? Because I feel like one of the cures, we had to go through it in order for us to understand it was okay. Like you had to make it through that season that you just had to sit down. There was nothing you could do about it, to understand that, oh, okay, now with the gift of hindsight, oh, okay, it was okay for me to sit still. But in the midst of it, you just wasn't okay with it, right? Same thing with you staying home with the baby. You just were not okay with it. You couldn't see it from my perspective. We didn't clearly define it in the beginning. And you was just like, I don't give a damn how much money I'm saving this. I need to be working. And I'm like, nah, you need to be chilling. And you like, just caused for a lot of turmoil, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, to be honest with you. You were hard on yourself. That energy transferred over to me in a different way. And it caused for us to be at odds with one another in the household. I would come in, energy was off. I'm like, I'm gonna be here. And you ain't communicating. I'm like, I don't know how, right? This is early on. I didn't know how to feel at that point. And I didn't know how to tell you, I don't like the energy in this place because you just won't sit down and chill.
Because I've been sitting in this house all day. Like, what you mean?
You act like I wanted to go work.
You stay
all
home.
day. Like,
well, then that's why I'm like, you stay home. Let me go to work. That would have drove you crazy.
I understand that. I do, right? And that also goes into us properly understanding our seasons, right? Which we'll get into a little later on. But let's move forward, right? Because another one that I feel like is a big one, which is understanding what your partner considers to be a breach of the relationship, or in other words, aka cheating.
Meaning, how do you expect your partner to commit to you or show you that they're committed?
Well, yes and no, right? Because what I say is this: you believe, which is what I respect. I respect it. It's the reason why we don't have any issues. I don't disagree, but I disagree with it. I disagree that an emotional connection with someone else.
No, with an opposite sex.
Okay.
Let's be clear.
Granted. Well, it's 2022, so you never really know, right? I could have an emotional connection with a dude, right?
But for me, from where I stand, because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about me and my expectations.
Sure.
My expectation is if you have an emotional connection with a female, that goes beyond, because you can connect with somebody emotionally, and such thing as emotional cheating.
I don't think that I do not agree. Emotional cheating?
Because if you're sharing things with another female that you don't share with your wife, that's crossing boundaries. It's crossing lines. There should never be a female that could come to a wife and tell the wife something that the husband didn't share, or something that the wife didn't know. No other female should have that power or have that stance.
All right. So another show that I'm on, and also in the book that I'm writing, or that we wrote. All right. And shameless plug. All right. I'm in a book called Black Men Love. It comes out May 28th. Please tap into that. But nonetheless, I firmly believe that you can be compatible with a person in a certain season of pain that you have the possibility of growing out of, right? So what I mean is this. Let's say I confided in someone who was broken like me. I'm not attracted to them romantically, but because they understand the way that I'm hurt, it's easier to talk to them. And it's not so easy to talk to you.
That's a problem.
Listen.
That's a problem.
I'm not attracted to them. We went through this.
The fact that you're not
just to give clarity, I don't mean to interrupt, but just to give clarity to our audience, early in our relationship, I respect it now, but early in our relationship, we've been through this, right? I was broken, similar to someone else who seemed to be the opposite sex. We were not involved romantically.
At first.
No, we weren't. We were not involved romantically.
Okay.
And, it was easy to speak to this woman.
Because you weren't talking to your wife about anything.
I didn't. You are discounting. Listen, and hopefully this conversation will shed some light on some other difficult situations. Because I don't know no other way to tell you that I did not know how. I know it might seem simple to you, but I didn't know how to communicate how I felt other than the way I was broken, right?
So pause for a second. Yep. So you're telling me that you can't come communicate with me because it's hard to communicate with me.
Yes.
Because
at that time.
I'm not done. Because of what you didn't know how to do.
Right.
But then you've placed that on me.
No.
So you don't come to me, but you say, I can go talk to her because it's easy to talk to her. But you didn't even try to come to talk to me because you've already deemed in your mind, I can't come talk to her. It's too difficult. But you didn't even try. Okay. I see where you're going. How is that fair? I see where you're going with this. So let me talk to you about that.
for a second here. I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
I'm about to too, but you go ahead.
Now, and this is rhetorical because I know the answer to this already. Has there been moments where you were able to talk to your mother in a way that you were not able to talk to me?
Right, but that's
yes or no. Give me an yes or no. I don't want to hear nothing else other than a yes or no. Yes or no. Were you able to talk to her?
I'm not going to give you a yes or no. So don't even look for that.
Goodness.
So it's first of all, it's yes, but that's my mother.
Okay.
That's not me reaching out to another man and asking another man outside of my relationship.
I understand that. I was not going to discount it. You just didn't let me get there yet. I was looking for a yes. Now, all I'm saying is this. If you know the principles behind that statement, I am able to talk to my mother in a way that my husband just simply does not understand.
Not
principles.
My mother is not even the same.
I'm talking, okay, when I say principles, you know a house, right? You know how you say 1,000,001 houses. 1,000,001 houses. But every single house has pillars, right? Doesn't mean they all built the same. All right. So just because your relationship between you and your mother is different between what I consider to be a painful, compatible connection between someone who was broken like me, doesn't mean we don't have two houses sitting there with two pillars that has the same kind of pillars in there, but just your house is built different than my house. Now, all I'm saying is this. I felt the way you were, or the way that we communicated early on in our relationship, not now, but early on in our relationship, I just felt like I could not tap into the way that you were broken. And I felt like you could not tap into the way that I was broken. And there were barriers in there that would not allow me to relate, and it would not allow you to relate to me. Right. And that could be for 1,000,001 reasons. We understand them now. But what I'm saying is that me communicating with that woman did not mean that I was romantically attracted to that woman. And I don't feel like that was cheating.
Okay, I do. But
granted. Now,
those were my expectations. I didn't expect my husband, or at that time, expect my significant other at the times we weren't married, to be speaking about even our relationship, for one, or things that you're going through, but you're not coming to talk to me.
surprises you the day after y'all married, and he says, like, yo, all right, now I gotta go get my second wife. You're gonna be like, what? What you just say to me? Right? Like you are, or let's say because that's extreme. Let's say he's not. Let's say he's not religious at all. Let's say he's atheist and he's not. He doesn't believe in anything, and you're Christian. There could be some crazy rifts in your relationship if you have one person define the next person's belief. Scenarios that go on, right? Like we always go through situations where our children are dealing with certain situations in school, and religion, from a belief base, a relationship base, we have principles and how we address each circumstance. If you have one person defying what the other person is saying, that could be a very strenuous situation. You don't think so?
Absolutely. But I think that pretty much what all of this boils down to is making sure you properly communicate up front.
You got to date right.
Right. You got to ask the right questions.
Yeah, you got to date right, man.
Because nowadays, they not asking questions.
Right. And I'm
it's
not
all
saying
about what they look like. What can they offer? Do they work for themselves or do they have a 9 to 5?
What they look like is a big one.
Right. But because everything is perception from social media, what a person puts in their representative.
Speaking of social media, I have to see your social media first before we make it legit. Like, I'm serious. I am drop dead serious right now. If I met you at a gas station, if I was single and I met you at a gas station like Walmart or whatever the case may be, a grocery store, right? And I'm attracted to you, so I approach you, say something slick. I feel like I'm slick, right?
Feelings are finicky.
But nonetheless, all right, if I approach you, I say something, we end up on a date. I don't know who you are, right? And I gotta see your Instagram page first. I gotta see your Facebook page, right? I need to know if you have a fans only page.
Oh, gracious.
Right? Exactly. That's the day and age we in, man. Right? I gotta figure out how many times you done shook your tail on the internet.
But that's not
No. I do.
I understand where you're going with it, but for me and who I am, I've never been that person anyway. Like, I'm not shaking myself. I'm not putting, like, you had to talk me into even getting back on social media.
I'm right. I'm just simply saying in
this day and age where we are.
Right. Regarding the dating correctly. Right. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's correct. Like, gentlemen, if you don't want to see our Instagram page and you feel like you're straight with it, cool. All right, whatever works for the both of y'all works. But for me personally, all right, would you is that? No.
So I mean, you got to do your own. You got to do your own investigative work.
Yeah. Dating, you have to date right in order to be able to set these parameters in your relationship.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you plan on marrying this woman. Now, I do want to hurry up because we only got 7 minutes left. I want to get into, understanding your limits as well as discerning the seasons that you're in. Right. Because number one,
I have a point too after we do this, but go ahead.
Discerning your limits and understanding the season that you're in, I think, for me, I've had some dark seasons which we've grown through.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't always know I was in the season that I was in because of improper, expectations of how my life should look.
Right.
I was coming from I'm the child of alcoholics, and I'm very upfront about this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, verbal as well as I'm an open book about it, because I feel like there's lessons in it. But I'm a child of alcoholics and drug addicts. So that means my vision has been distorted from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm on this healing journey, and it is how, me being in therapy and me reading the books and me doing the work has allowed me to see myself in a way I've never seen myself before. Now, early on, I didn't see myself nothing like what I'm seeing now. Right?
What do you feel like it's allowed you to see, and have you liked what you've seen?
How unrealistic my reality has been in the past. You know what I mean? And it's been tough because there's unlearning and then there's relearning. I'm going to be the biggest person. I'm going to yell to the top of my lungs and tell every human being that healing hurts just as bad as being hurt does.
Mm-hmm. But for most of us, we spend a lot of our adulthood relearning and unlearning what we were taught as children.
Which is my point. That's a painful process.
Right.
Healing is painful. When you're in surgery, you don't feel that. You sleep.
Mm-hmm.
When God's working on you, you don't really see what He's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you wake up,
you start the healing,
and you get the healing, that process is painful.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, there's a lot of shame and guilt involved because you've seen every mistake you've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of anger involved because you're mad as hell at the things that you didn't do to you that you have no choice but to heal from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then it's painful, the process of the healing. Like, it's painful what you got to go through. It's painful what you got to march through. Right? But if you don't know you're in those sorts of seasons, you can wreck your relationship. I almost wrecked ours because I didn't know I was hurt in the manner in which I was hurt when I was making some of the mistakes that I had made, that you had no choice but to respond to. And that was still reality. I just didn't know. Right? I was looking through life through a distorted vision. And because I didn't see that and I wasn't accountable enough to understand, I wouldn't say understand, because you don't know what you don't know. But at the same time, this day and age, we are all healed. Therapy is a thing now, right? And it's also, information is coming out. And if you know that you come from a traumatic past, then you also know that you need to heal in some kind of way, and that whatever way you did not heal is impacting your current reality.
Well, let's not say therapy is a thing now. Therapy has always been around. It's just the stigma is lifting.
All right, so all my white friends, please don't take offense, but therapy wasn't okay for us back then.
I said the stigma is lifting. That's why I said that.
I don't even think, yes, I agree with you. The stigma is lifting. But therapy wasn't offered to Black folks back then.
That's what I'm saying. It's always been a thing. Therapy is not brand new.
I digress. I guess, and I agree. I guess I'm just simply saying that those things, the way you're hurt, you're looking at life through a vision of pain. The vision is distorted. You do not know you're causing hurt people. You don't know you're hurting people the way that you are hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the biggest thing was I didn't understand I was not able to discern the seasons that I had to go through in order to have a healthy relationship. Number one, it was all unhealthy the way that I thought my relationship could possibly be without having to heal from the things I didn't know I was hurt from. Yes, that's crazy.
So let me ask you a question. So in the beginning of this, we started off as our expectations and what we went into this expecting. So it was like family matters and my wife and kids and stuff like that. So when you realize that those were your expectations, but you weren't even delivering on your own expectations of what you thought, what then happens in your process?
Well, number one, personally, I was pissed that they didn't write the story for my wife and kids. Right?
They should have told the truth.
What the hell is that pain and trauma? All right. I was mad as hell. You have no idea. All right, Bill Cosby, you mean to tell me all them perfect years you put on the damn TV, man, and next thing you know, you throwing pills in people's drinks? You gotta be kidding me. All right.
We're talking about sitcom, not real life.
Nonetheless, I was fooled and conditioned, and I didn't understand it at that point, right? But those are real things. And they generate expectations that you unknowingly project onto your relationship. Let's be honest.
Same thing with how social media makes people place expectations on what they feel like they should look like, where they feel like they should be financially, what they feel like they should have.
Yep.
And then they get depressed because they're not living up to what they're
Yep.
seeing, even though it's not real.
Which is why I said I got to see your Instagram. If I was dating fellas and ladies, look at the Instagram page, right? Whatever jokes they put on there, all right? Every joke has a hint of reality in there, right? The memes they posted, how finicky are their feelings? Is on Monday, are they feeling righteous? And then on Friday, are they feeling like somebody got it out for them? Like, come on, man, these are patterns, right? Are they on there twerking, right? Right? Or is the dude on there cracking jokes against women? How does he think about women? Right? Like I'm telling you, man, Instagram, whatever you post is coming out of your head, and what's in your head will come out into reality. And I'm telling you now, because we're in this social media phase, you have to look at their Instagram page. That would be a mandatory for me. Right? What'd you say your name was? Like I would, hey, how you doing? My name is Ryan. What's your name? Patrice. You would tell me your name is Patrice. And I was like, okay, what's your Instagram name? Let's follow each other. Right.
Let me Instagram stuff you immediately.
I gotta know it. I gotta know what you're talking about. Right. But then also, I have to, because we're in our 30s, man, and we don't have time to be wasting time. We don't have time to be wasting no more time. So I don't have time to be dating incorrectly, right? I need to know what the deal is, and I need to set expectations from the very beginning, right? You need to be intentional, right? So that you're not wasting any more time, right? Because one, in order for you to know the season you're in, you have to be honest with yourself. But then also you have to know your counterpart. You have to know the person you want to get involved with, because you want to make sure and discern if that person is someone you want to be involved with, right? And then also you want to work on it. That's the last point I want to make, right? You can't do anything about what you feel, right? I could not take my heart away from you when we were in our darker seasons. And because of that, I chose not to walk away and crush my heart even more. I worked on our stuff, you know, and I felt like you worked on ours, and there was a mutual effort there where we actually put the hard work in to figure out where we were going wrong. Right? That took accountability on my part. It took accountability on my part. But listen, accountability. This is what accountability looks like. When I'm wrong, I'm screaming, yelling, I'm fighting for my point, right? And it takes a long time, right? And then for you screaming, you yelling, right? You acting crazy. Your damn eyeliner is sagging all the way to the floor. Your eyebrows is all sagging.
We don't have time for this. Like, you can wrap this up. Because I got points I want to make. Go ahead.
But the point I'm trying to make is we do have to work on it. You got to work on this thing, man, because if you don't work on it, it'll never get done. You'll never see the potential of what it could have been. But if your expectations are set correctly, I don't think that you could probably work on a damn thing. You know what I mean? All right, but go ahead. I know we running out of time.
All right, so I just want to make this last point, leave a little food for thought.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
My thoughts about to be eating on your food.
Can I get some?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you place the same expectations on yourself that you place on your partner? So, meaning, do you place the expectations on your partner like, oh, I need my partner to make sure they bring home this amount of money, and then that they can cook, and that they can clean, and then they can do this, this, and this? Do you meet those expectations? Are you doing that? Because if that's the case, if you're not, then how can you expect somebody to give you something that you yourself can't give? And that's, to me, that's what I go by. Like, I can't expect you to do something that I myself can't do, or that I'm not doing. Yeah. So, but with that being said, it's like, make sure that even the expectations that you place on yourself are realistic expectations. Be fair across the board, because if you're placing realistic expectations on yourself, you also have to place those realistic expectations on your partner. Let's not be unrealistic. Let's be fair across the board.
I still think that goes back to setting parameters, right? Because there's things that you do that I don't do. Let's be honest.
Right.
Right. And I love you to death for it. I do. I understand that those are the areas where, fellas, don't hate me here, but those are the areas where I submit, right? I submit to my weaknesses, right? And I submit to your strengths, right? Because there are always going to be things that you bring to you're my yin to my yang. And that's how every relationship's going to be. Every ring, marriage, covenant, it's a cycle, everything, right? So one half of the circle, the other half of the circle is one person, and then the other half of the circle is the other person. You're always going to come to the table with something you can't bring to the table. That's the reason why there's another half to the circle, right? So there is always going to be something the counterpart is stronger in that you were weaker in, right? You were always meant to see my blind spots, and I was always meant to see your blind spots, right? You were always meant to heal me, and I was always meant to heal you. That's how covenant works. That's how this whole thing works. That's the reason why you are heaven sent, right? And I've always believed that I in the beginning, my insecurities got in the way of me submitting. But now I'm just like, you know what? She can just do it. And I just can't. And I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
And I have strengths too, right? Every relationship has strengths and weaknesses, right? I mean, every person in the relationship can bring something to the table that the other person can't bring to the table. And in those cases, that's how you become a complete circle, right? I can't become a nurturer like you, right? But you can't love like a father like I can. Right? I mean,
but you try to tell me how to nurture sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like you do over nurture. Like them dudes.
There's no such thing.
Them NIGGAs, they got to grow up. All right, they dudes, they men. All right, and they have to learn how to be men at some point. They can't be 19, 20, 25 years old and you still trying to nurture. Like, come on, man, these dudes, man, they men. All right, but we ain't going there. That's a conversation for another day. It's a conversation for another day.
But what it boils down to is be upfront, communicate about your expectations and what you expect. Be realistic with those expectations.
Yeah, set your expectations, man. But listen, we got to get out of here. We're getting a sign now. And this is Conversation of Truths with Ryan Dunston, Patrice Dunston. And we are on Trivia, Inspirational Radio. We will be back in another couple of weeks. Hopefully you'll join us. Peace.